Have you ever stopped to wonder why worrying about money feels like a weight crushing you day after day, stealing your peace and joy while Jesus, the great potter, is ready to shape your financial life like clay, in his hands transforming chaos into divine purpose? Imagine waking up every morning with a racing heart, thinking about piling bills, dreams delayed by lack of resources, wondering if God truly cares for your finances, or if you're alone in this constant struggle against debt and uncertainty. I know this feels familiar to many of you because I've been there myself, feeling stress erode my faith. But I discovered that worry isn't just a fleeting feeling. It's a trap that pulls you away from the prosperity plan God has for you, rooted in solid biblical principles. Think about how the Bible teaches us in Matthew 6:34, not to worry about tomorrow, for each day has enough trouble of its own. Yet how often we ignore this, letting financial anxiety control us like a clumsy potter who deforms the vessel instead of perfecting it. Today, we'll dive into this journey, exploring how Jesus, the master potter, can reshape your personal finances through faith, guiding you to a Christian financial education that not only balances your budget, but strengthens your eternal purpose. Do you feel that unease when you check your bank statement, questioning if your financial choices honor God, or if they lead you down a path of emotional and spiritual bondage? The truth is that worry is killing you slowly, draining your vital energy, affecting your health, your relationships, and even your connection with the Creator. But there's a way out, a way to surrender that burden to the potter who knows how to mold the fragile clay of your life into something strong and beautiful. Let's start by understanding why this happens, sparking that curiosity in you to see how faith principles can revolutionize your daily financial management. Now imagine a man named Peter, a devoted Christian who worked hard as a mechanic, but lived tormented by financial worry, watching his family suffer with growing debts from loans for unexpected medical emergencies. Peter woke up in the middle of the night sweating mentally, calculating how to pay the month's bills, ignoring that Jesus the potter was there, ready to reshape his financial approach with the biblical wisdom of Proverbs 21:5, which says, "The plans of the diligent lead to prosperity." Instead of praying and planning with faith, Peter sank into anxiety, spending more than he earned on impulsive purchases to ease momentary stress, creating a vicious cycle that distanced him from God's purpose for an abundant life. But one day, during a severe financial crisis, when the family car broke down and savings vanished, Peter recalled the potter metaphor in Jeremiah 18, where God shapes the people like clay, and began to wonder if his worry wasn't a lack of trust in the master who corrects imperfections. He realized that Christian financial education isn't just about budgets and investments, but about aligning the heart with God's will, surrendering worries so the potter can transform them into lessons of miraculous provision. Think of the emotion Peter felt reading Philippians 4:6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, and how this drove him to create a faith-based financial plan, cutting unnecessary expenses and prioritizing tithing as an act of obedience. His journey teaches us that financial worry is like a slow poison, corroding the soul and blocking blessings. But when you let Jesus shape you, he removes impurities like toxic debts and strengthens the vessel to hold true prosperity. Now I want to go deeper into this topic, exploring how Peter applied spiritual principles to escape debt, using prayer as a daily tool to manage financial stress. Peter began praying every morning, surrendering his finances to the potter, asking for wisdom to discern between needs and wants, and miraculously, extra income opportunities arose, like a freelance job he never imagined. He learned that faith isn't passive but active, combining prayer with practical actions, like tracking expenses on a simple app, inspired by Luke 14:28, which speaks of counting the cost before building a tower, applying it to personal finances. The emotion hit hard when Peter saw his wife cry with relief after paying off their first debt in full, feeling God's hand shaping their family like wet clay, turning weakness into unshakable strength. But it wasn't easy. There were setbacks, moments when worry returned, like when unexpected inflation raised food prices, testing his trust in the potter who promises in Malachi 3:10 to pour out blessings without measure for the faithful. Peter reflected on how Satan uses financial anxiety to make us doubt God's love, but countered it with emotional reflections on Psalm 37:25. I have never seen the righteous forsaken, using it as authority to teach his children about Christian financial purpose. He adopted habits like reading the Bible before any purchase decision, asking if it glorifies God, and this brought a peace that transcended the bank balance, proving that faith-based financial education is the antidote to deadly worry. Imagine the impact in your own life if you embraced this, feeling the thrill of freedom as debts shrink, while your faith grows like a vessel perfectly shaped by the divine potter. Continuing along this line, Peter found that sharing his story in a church group helped him connect with others struggling with the same anxiety, creating a support network based on biblical principles of mutual care. What if I told you that you can do the same, starting today, surrendering your financial worries to the potter and seeing real transformations? Now I want to dive even deeper into this topic, analyzing how the potter metaphor applies to ethical investments, choosing options that honor God, avoiding speculations that fuel greed and constant worry. Peter, for example, avoided high-interest loans, choosing to save patiently. Inspired by Proverbs 13:11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. And this brought deep emotional stability. The authority of God's word guided him to prioritize generosity, giving even in tough times, and blessings returned multiplied, like an unexpected salary raise that covered pending expenses. Feel the thrill of that victory when Peter fulfilled the dream of a debt-free family trip, proving that God's purpose includes holistic prosperity, not just material, but spiritual and relational. But the journey had challenges, like when a job loss tested him, making worry knock again. But he clung to prayer, crying out to the potter to reshape his career with unshakable faith. He read 1 Peter 5:7, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you," and used it to create an emergency fund, teaching that Christian financial education is about spirit-led preparation. This reflection moves us, showing how God uses brokenness to shape us better, turning cracked vessels into masterpieces of financial resilience. Peter also learned to distinguish worry from responsible planning, praying for discernment and acting diligently, as in Proverbs 6:8, which speaks of the ant preparing its food in summer, applying it to monthly budgets. Curiosity sparks when you think how this could change your life, freeing you from the emotional prison of debt, while Jesus shapes you for a greater purpose of impacting others with your story. He began teaching in his church about biblical finances, sharing how faith helped him negotiate debts, reducing interest with patience and prayer, gaining authority in his voice by quoting verses that transformed his reality. Feel the fire of excitement, imagining your own transformation, moving from worry that kills to a life of abundance promised in John 10:10. Now I want to go deeper into this topic, exploring how Peter dealt with family legacies of poor financial management, breaking cycles through prayer and Christian education. He prayed for healing from inherited patterns, like his parents' impulsive spending, and adopted Proverbs 22:6, "Train up a child in the way he should go," teaching his kids about tithing from a young age. The authority of his transformation inspired neighbors who saw him as a vessel remolded by the potter, free from the worry that once killed him. Feel the thrill of freedom envisioning this in your journey, where finances become a tool for God's kingdom, not a source of stress. Peter faced a major test when a family illness drained savings, but he cried out to the potter, and church support arose as blessings, reinforcing Philippians 4:19, "My God will supply every need of yours." This didactic story teaches us that financial worry is an illusion of control, but surrendering to faith brings real and emotional provision. He started recording daily financial gratitudes, focusing on past blessings to combat future anxiety, creating a habit that strengthens the spirit. Imagine the impact in your life, with Jesus shaping your decisions like perfect clay, leading to prosperity with eternal purpose. Peter reflected on how society normalizes debt, but the Bible in Proverbs 22:7 warns that the borrower is slave to the lender, pushing him to a plan of financial freedom through persistent prayer. Curiosity grows thinking about how many lives change when we choose faith over fear, letting the potter remove impurities like emotional spending. He used the authority of 2 Corinthians 9:8. God is able to make all grace abound to you, to multiply financial seeds into abundant harvests. Feel the emotional fire of that promise, turning worry into unshakable trust in the divine provider. Now, diving deeper, Peter integrated charity into his budget, giving 10% even in tight times, and saw miraculous returns, like unexpected refunds that covered needs. This didactic practice of Christian financial education freed him from the scarcity mindset trap, shaping him for a purpose of generosity. He prayed for faithful financial mentors, and God sent a church brother who guided him in ethical investments, aligned with faith. Here's an idea that can change everything for us. If you're enjoying this message and want more content on biblical personal finance, like this video, comment below your biggest financial worry right now and subscribe to the channel to not miss the next lessons that will help you grow in faith and prosperity. Your comment can inspire someone in a similar struggle, building a strong community of financially wise Christians, so let's do this together. Continuing with Peter, he found that specific prayer for financial guidance, like asking for promotions or business ideas, opens doors that worry shuts, based on James 1:5, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God." The emotion overflows when he shares how a home business idea emerged during prayer, selling handmade products, easing the financial burden and fulfilling his purpose of glorifying God through work. He used biblical authority to reject fear of bankruptcy, affirming Romans 8:28, "All things work together for good for those who love God," turning setbacks into stepping stones of faith. Imagine the curiosity of applying this in your life, seeing debts turn into testimonies of miracles, while the potter shapes your financial character with divine patience. Peter also integrated Sabbath rest into his finances, avoiding overwork that leads to burnout, inspired by Exodus 20:8-10, and this brought emotional balance, proving God cares when we trust. His reflection on Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," helped him prioritize saving as an act of faith, not fear, creating an abundance that moves anyone who hears it. Peter's journey shows that financial worry doesn't need to define you, for Jesus, the potter, is reshaping you now for a life of peace and biblical prosperity. Reaffirm in your heart that surrendering anxieties to God, combining faith with practical actions, is the key to breaking this deadly cycle. Feel the thrill of victory imagining your own transformed story, full of purpose and spiritual strength. So, if this message touched you, subscribe to the channel for more inspiring content and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Remember, you are the clay in the master's hands, ready to shine in finances and faith.